So today we've got a really tough game, and today we're going to get into the tactical plan and what Leeds United can do to get over this Brighton and Hove Albion side, who are very, very effective under Herzler and have been effective ever since they've moved into the Amex, to be quite honest with you. So the fast transition team, they push their wing backs very high up. They encourage the midfielders to get into the box extremely late. Belieber being the absolute epitome of that, and Arai, of course, who's come in and been a bit of a revelation for them. Extremely flexible forward movements as well. Brighton, this guy in particular, it's really important that he's not playing, and hopefully he's not playing in this one. And if we're honest, this is probably going to be the likely side, which even without Matoma, it is an excellent team, isn't it? There's fluidity throughout the side. I absolutely love the front four, especially Diego Gomez is starting for Brighton. He was sumptuous, absolutely sumptuous against Barnsley in the cup round. And obviously he's replacing that impact of Matoma. He looks very, very good and fluid. Obviously, you've got Jorginho Rutter in there, who at this moment in time, he's, I think, in the top 5 under 23s when it comes to chance creation. In the Premier League, then you've got Minter, who is a very, very good centre forward. And I really like the combination play between Ayari, between Belieber, and they almost have this, I feel, luxury with Herzler of just getting forward whenever they want and entering the box at any stage. But that does leave them slightly vulnerable to a counter-attack if Leeds United can get that right. And that is really important. For me, it has to be route one. Sounds really basic, really boring, but Leeds have got to be really clever in this game. It's the toughest game away from home we've had since Arsenal. And in that game, we didn't cover ourselves in glory, but in that game in particular, the problem was Leeds United weren't able to build up properly, and they didn't really have a style of play. We were kind of playing out from the back through Gruev into that central space, and then at points going route one to Peru. It's got to be a clear, defined, pragmatic style of play going into this one, and the game plan's got to be adapted for Brighton. They will press us really high in this 4-2-3-1 system. Their wing backs will get extremely high, and they're very efficient at doing so. So if Leeds United are building out from the back, and we know Perry's maybe not as adept to it yet in terms of playing out from the back against their team, who is very fast in transition, but also will push their fullbacks and effectively their side that high up the pitch that they'll go beyond the halfway line when Leeds United are building up from the back. Leeds have got to be really, really careful in that zone. We've got to build up in the right moments, but also go along and get those second balls. These second balls have been a problem for me. And maybe it is the continuity of getting a proper right winger and a proper left winger in there, so they understand those wing options and those inverted options a little bit more. The ball goes up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You've got to be in and around him, whether or not it comes to Sean Longstaff or Nonto or James or Aronson or Okafor. I think Okafor's probably the best at it right now, in my personal opinion. In terms of the ball hits Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that's got to be a trigger for me to get forward. Sean Longstaff's got to be the exact same. We've got to take risks in this game at points. And it's all about in this game as well. Brighton like to get forward, but they also like almost the 2-5-3 in possession. I mentioned a little bit earlier how that makes them a little bit more susceptible as well to the counter-attack, but it also means that they're going to flood players forward. And when you've got players like Ayari and Belieber coming on forward, and then you've got the likes of Jorginho Rutter who can bypass a press, we all know that. Leeds have got to remain compact. I always talk about this in the midfield. We got pulled out of that compact block. If you think about that second goal for Burnley, there's got to be an invisible rope. You've got to get Longstaff. You've got to get Stack, whoever it is, Ampadu in there. And they've got to be really severely understanding that how staying rigid and compact is really important here. Because if they are out wide, Brighton, with the likes of Jakob Minter and Diego Gomez, if they're putting that ball into the box, we know Danny Welbeck is excellent in the air, but I do trust our boys. I do trust our boys at this moment in time at the back. So if you're forcing Brighton out wide, that's probably going to be the best route to success for Leeds United from a defensive perspective. You do not want them. What they're going to try to do is vertical build-up. So you do not want them getting the ball to Rutter. Rutter able to bypass our press and then sliding the ball into Danny Welbeck and him putting the ball into the back of the net. You want to try avoid that as much as possible, and that means you stay compact in those central areas. And we've mentioned this as well, everybody. The way Leeds can exploit this is when Vifa comes forward and Kadoglu comes forward as well. If those two are starting, if they are pushing forward, Okafor and the likes of Dan James or Nonto or Aronson have to be willing to exploit that space if they're pushing high, because then Leeds United, if we regain possession, it can be a quick transition, almost that counter-attacking style of which we have seen away from home at points this season, especially against Wolves, which was the classic example when they were pushing high their fullbacks with that three at the back system, and obviously they had the wing backs. As soon as they all pushed high, that is when Leeds United look really dangerous on that transition. They've got to do that against Brighton to get any element of success here. As well, what you're going to get with Brighton in the build-up is the back two in Dunk and obviously Van Hecke and Belieber and Ayari in the build-up, in their process of getting the ball to Jorginho Rutter and Danny Welbeck. They are the safe ball progressors. Leeds have to disrupt this intelligently with the press. It can't just be us low blocking all the time, but they can't be reckless as well. It can't be any time Belieber and Ayari has the ball, Leeds go in with a forceful press. There's got to be moments, there's got to be times at which Leeds do that. We've got to do it in a coordinated way, which once again is intelligent, not reckless. But I do think with the numbers that we've got, when you're looking at the recoveries in the final third, which I think we are third in the division at this moment in time when it comes to the effectiveness of a press, that should aid Leeds United in that regard as well. And the running stats as well, which is third in the division, mean that Leeds United are not going to be an easy task for Brighton in this one, in my opinion. And when, look, if Brighton are trying to expose Leeds United centrally, which we've spoken about with Hürzeler and building up in that vertical way, they want Dunk and Van Hecke to get on the ball, give the ball to Belieber, Ayari, then feed Rutter into that space. They want to do that if they're focusing centrally and they're inverting a lot out wide as well. That is brilliant for Leeds United, because if we are exposing them in our new adaptable counter-attacking style, Leeds have got to hit them out wide. We hit them out wide, that's where we're supposed to get our chances. That's where we can win free kicks. That's where we can dominate them on set pieces and potentially with Ampadu's long throw as well. But these are really important for Leeds United today. Once again, this comes back to the more direct approach that Leeds have got to involve themselves in today, and these individual mistakes that can be forced by a Brighton press. We've got to be clever. If you need to go long, go long. I think Longstaff's really important as well, because I think his combative nature has been, and his ability to win the ball back and recoveries and then create chances has been probably one of Leeds' key assets this season, and he's been a really good performer. Got Player of the Month, I believe, for Leeds United as well. He's got to really be an important player today. He's got to be a leader, and he's got to break up Brighton in that midfield as well. And once again, perform above his stations with the big players in that Leeds United side. But he's going to be really, really essential in breaking up their flow vertically and hitting our front man quickly. So again, Danny Welbeck as well. Really, really important. He's hurt us before. I think he's exceptional, Danny Welbeck, in terms of what he does and what he brings to the side. I think his first touch is very underrated. I think he can go with his left foot as well as his right in terms of his precision with finishing. I think he's got better with age. Danny Welbeck, he's strong. He's 6'1", 6'2". Look, and there's people talking about him getting called up for England. Danny Welbeck has just developed so much in his career from when he was at Manchester United. The fullbacks and the centre-backs have to be really concentrating. And we've spoken before about if Strauch is playing, him getting dragged out and his concentration and focus being exploited by the likes of Evan Nielsen with Bournemouth. He's got to be really concentrating here. You know, Richarlison was doing it with him as well at points when Spurs came to town, and Matthias Tell. You've got to be really, really focused there, not dragged out of position, which they will try and do. They'll try force him out wide as well at points. Welbeck will do that to create space for Rutter, Gomez and Minter. And the focus, if Strauch is back in, and even if Biol is in there as well, the focus when it comes to decision-making, when to play out, when to get rid of it, is so important today, because we've played Brighton before and there has been a list of individual errors in these games. And that's because of how aggressive Brighton have always been with that press, not just with Hürzeler. So I think how Leeds have got to be in this game, really, to start off with, is quite conservative. I think Brighton are going to push the full-backs high, and we've just got to be careful in terms of maybe your Jaden Bogles and the Goodmansons of as soon as we get the ball, trying to bomb on. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We've got to be intelligent here. You've got to start these transitions and counter-attacks in the right way at the right moments. You've got to know when to go long to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You've then got to know when to build upon these wide right and wide left areas with your combinations, your sequences to exploit the channels and get Leeds up the pitch. It's really important that we do that and enable the likes of Longstaff, maybe Stack, whoever's in that midfield, to transition quickly with the side as well. Really important that we're able to exploit their high press as well and hit them where they're vulnerable at the right moments. Once again, I think in terms of tempo as well, I mentioned this when Leeds played Arsenal. There can't be too many risks. I have to say that as well. You don't want to let Brighton build into some sort of tempo where they've consistently got the ball. We know we're not going to have a lot of the ball, but we've seen other teams go away. And just because you don't have a lot of the ball doesn't mean you're not exerting control on the game. You can do that and create chances without having the ball all the time. It's just when you've got it, you've got to be really clinical. And that's that's the thing right now. I think we've got to relinquish control a little bit and play to our assets. Get up the pitch with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, get Dunk and Van Hecke frustrated as well. These are the key bits as well. And intelligence in this game. Intelligence comprised of focus and concentration. Defensively is really important in this one. You don't want Leeds making stupid mistakes which allow Brighton in. And these are the key moments that are going to keep Leeds in the Premier League. Focus and concentration. Well, big transitional moments for this one, everybody. You know my Leeds team for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and your score predictions as well. I'm Conor McGilligan. I will see you for the watch along at 2:15. Cheers.